Welcome to Unit 6.3. Can well-being help us be well? I'm Diana Lindsay. You'll remember in 2 videos ago that we talked about the work of Martin Seligman. Seligman's research led him to understand that his original model of authentic happiness needed to evolve into a theory of what he called well-being. He called it PERMA. P for the pleasant life, E the engaged life, R the relational, M the meaningful, and A the accomplished life. Let's take a minute to understand what it is he means by them, and then to see whether or not it can impact our healing. P was positive emotion. This is what we've just been talking about, the experience of pleasure, happiness, and contentment. What I find very interesting is that the research has shown that simply using our talents and our strengths in daily life make us happy. You'll remember that we had the exercise when first faced with illness to understand what our strengths are as we march forward in finding a solution. So this knowledge of who we are and what are strong is an important one to come back to. So go back to your original drawing and see whether any of these might be applicable to add into it. And own these strengths as your own. Get pleasure from the fact that you have learned and accumulated this wisdom over the course of your life. Engagement is putting these strengths and talents to use in such a way that you feel flow. Time stops. Distractions go away. You are so immersed in the activity that your brain chemistry stays not only even, but it stays even with a good, solid surge of energy. In the context of health, and particularly severe health, I found it easier to engage in the richness and the fullness of even the smallest thing in life because you so appreciate it. But of course, medication can be something that takes away our ability to engage this fully. Positive relationship turned out to be critical. Seligman needed to pull it out of his early models and give it its own pillar. We are going to look at this pillar more fully in the next unit. But the critical thing in his work and in the work of John Gottman out of the University of Washington was the ratio of positive experiences in a relationship to negative ones. Gottman said the ratio should be 5-1. 5 positive to 1 negative or critical one. I challenge everybody to research what is that in the context of healing. I tried to make sure that it was 10-1, and I'm pretty sure I've come close to achieving 100-1. Now, meaning. Meaning turns out to be very important to cancer patients. A sense of why I'm here, what my life has been about, why I've lived as long as I have, and why I get each of these days is something that drives us forward in our healing. But we aren't the only ones. Having core motivation and a purpose gives all of us a deeper sense of well-being. Seligman was surprised by a comment that one of his fellow researchers made, but Dr. Seligman, we are also happy when we accomplish something. So they went on to develop the theory of the accomplished life. This is the one that actually in our culture we tend to spend most of our time in. And so one of our challenges is, are we devoting enough time to the dreams of our life, or too much to achievements and throwing relationships out of balance? Now, Seligman's research studied around what we felt made us happy, but it turns out that our genes have known better all along. Our gene expression in our immune cells differs with different kinds of happiness. The hedonic, or pleasure for only pleasure's sake, turns out to be correlated with genes that are associated with inflammation, which as we know cause disease, and genes associated with antiviral properties go down. So this syndrome, which they call CRTA, is not a good one to have. What they found was that the eudaimonic, or happiness in the service of others, decreased this syndrome. So associated with less inflammation, associated with more antiviral properties. Barbara Fredrickson, who did this research at the University of North Carolina, said, "We can make ourselves happy through simple pleasures, but those empty calories don't help us broaden our awareness or build our capacity in ways that benefit us physically. At the cellular level, our bodies appear to respond better to a different kind of well-being, one based on a sense of connectedness and purpose." And Daniel Kahneman, who you might remember we studied in a past video with his book Thinking Fast and Slow, did a TED Talk on the riddle of experience versus memory in the context of happiness. He shows why this remains so elusive for all of us. He talks about the difference in our thinking between the experiencing self and the remembering self. What he said was how happy we remember our life turns out to have nothing to do with the happiness we feel in living our lives, and vice versa. What's more, he said we don't attend to the same things when we think about life as when we actually live. And this makes it difficult for us to think straight about well-being. So if you're having difficulty running this chemistry, be patient, be kind, and be compassionate. And take a look at Daniel's TED Talk to get some ideas. Life, after all, is a balance. It's that perfect soup we talked about. We can feel unhappiness and we can feel happiness. We can feel stress and we can feel joy. The key is to keep the chemistry of your body running as smoothly as it can under any circumstance, and write it if it gets too spicy or too salty. So take the time to think about how are you feeling right now. Set an alarm and test yourself in an hour or two, or tomorrow. Think of the different levels on your going up and down. Are you high in a pleasant emotion, but low in meaning? High in accomplishment, low in relationship? Just observe and see what you learn about yourself. And then as something to try, commit a random act of kindness. How do you feel afterwards? Have a date night where both of you use your strengths. And see what you believe the impact of well-being is on whether or not you are well.